What really hurt the most was watching her get ready for her night out. After she put on her sexy lingerie and stockings, I watched as she spent a lot of time applying makeup and fixing her hair. Then she slipped into a dress I had never seen before, followed by high heels that completed an outfit unfamiliar to me. I felt a surge of betrayal, jealousy, and anger rise up inside me. She was doing all this for Mark Diamond, her boss, not for me. She was making herself desirable and sexy for another man outside our marriage, while I worked hard to provide her with a wonderful life and family. It was all incomprehensible. Our sex life had always been amazing. Jessica was always attentive and never hid anything. She consistently made me feel loved, so I had no reason to doubt her after 20 years of marriage. I thought I knew her well and never imagined she could cheat on me, except for that one night a month ago at her company's dinner. Mark Diamond, the managing partner of the law firm, paid more attention to Jessica than I was comfortable with. I caught a smirk from him when he looked at me after dancing with my wife. She gave me a hint that something was off, and I had a bad feeling that worsened when I told Jessica about it the next day. Her defensive reaction and attempts to downplay my concerns only confirmed my suspicions. Suddenly, her late meetings and missed lunches started to register as red flags that needed immediate attention. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. Jessica is Mark's personal assistant. Mark is known for flaunting his success with expensive cars, jewelry, a luxurious lifestyle, and his trophy wife, Stella, who is a young, attractive 30-year-old he traded his ex-wife for. Mark likes to make jokes at others' expense, and I remember him mocking my job during one of our walks. I sell screws and fasteners to large retail stores, not glamorous work, but it brings in over $200,000 a year, providing a good living for my family. I gave Jessica everything she wanted and could afford to pay for our daughter Sarah's college education, who is now in her second year. We also live in a pleasant community with good friends and a comfortable lifestyle. I wasn't a power broker making millions a year like Mark, but we were happy, or so I thought. That night, when Mark decided to mock my work in front of my wife and others, I was furious. Not only was he an arrogant jerk, but my wife's defense of him was equally infuriating. When he said, "So, Johnny, how's it going with the nuts and bolts? It must be fun working at Home Depot every day," and I saw Jessica laughing, my blood boiled. I left without saying a word. To her credit, Jessica came over and asked what was wrong. When I told her, she tried to brush it off. "Oh, baby, he's just kidding. He loves to have fun. You shouldn't take everything so seriously. Personally, come with me," he said. "Mark is a really great guy." Despite my better judgment, I stayed for dinner. Looking back, I realize I should have seen the signs, but now I know I may have missed some red flags. Damn it, I'm not a fool, and I'm not going to sit quietly. I can understand why people are drawn to Mark. He's the alpha, big, strong, good-looking, and wealthy. He's the partner everyone wants to be around. Jessica was his closest ally at the firm, his trusted right hand. Everything seemed perfect. It didn't matter that he had a younger, sexier wife. For a guy like Mark, who wants it all, claiming someone else's wife was definitely on his agenda. Over the next week, I took swift action to determine if my suspicions were valid. After setting up 6 audio recording devices and 5 video cameras, I began executing my plan. I installed the first camera in the smoke detector on the ceiling of our bedroom. The next 2 cameras were positioned at different angles to cover the entire room. The remaining cameras went in the master bathroom and the living room. All of the cameras had live streaming capabilities, 8K recording, and wireless connectivity to a dedicated computer I set up in the attic. They were all remotely controlled via a phone app. In addition to the video, the audio devices were discreet. One was hidden in a pen next to the kitchen phone, and another was placed subtly in her car. I put additional standard recording devices in her 3 favorite purses and one behind our bed. With this setup, I aimed to capture at least 90% of her conversations and any activities in the house. I had a bad feeling about the upcoming week as I prepared for a business trip. As always, Jessica was loving and passionate in bed. Before every trip, she started with lots of kisses and sweet words, expressing how much she loved me and wanted me. Her affection and love were something I always treasured, and she never disappointed me. "I love you so much, and I love making love to you, honey," she said, tears in her eyes. "I love you too, baby. You are amazing, and I will love you forever," she replied with a smile. It was an incredible night, and I felt so close and in love with her that I almost abandoned my spying plan. Fortunately, I left everything as it was and went on my 2-night trip. I wanted to give her enough time in case anything happened. We kissed goodbye, and by 6 p.m., I was on my way for the 3-hour drive to the hotel. During the drive, I replayed the last 6 months in my mind, trying to find any other possible explanation. Aside from 2 awkward encounters with her boss, his smirk and his attempt to belittle me, nothing had changed. I smiled to myself, realizing that I might have been overly paranoid. When I finally arrived at the hotel, I checked into my room and relaxed on the king-size bed. After a few minutes, I checked my email for work messages and then clicked on the link to the server in the attic to view the last 3 hours of footage. I knew there probably wouldn't be much to see, but I needed to test the remote access system. I played the video at 3x speed, waiting to see what was captured. I fast-forwarded the video of my wife in the bedroom and then returned it to normal speed to watch my beautiful, sexy wife making a phone call. What I didn't expect was the conversation with Mark an hour after I left. The video camera captured the audio, and as I watched her lying on the bed talking to her boss, I could only hear her side of the conversation. "Hello, honey. He's gone, and I'm all alone. Yes, this time for 2 nights. When can you come over? Won't your wife wonder where you're going? Oh my God, this is great. Can you stay the night? I really want to wake up next to you. Oh yes, of course, I'm all yours, baby. So, what time will you be here? Okay, see you soon. I love you, baby." I sat there in shock. We had just made the most passionate love an hour ago. She came at least 4 times and told me she loved me. Now, just an hour later, she's inviting him to spend the night with her. Who was this woman? How could she love me so much and betray me so quickly? Is he coming over tonight, or was this just a misunderstanding? That question was answered a few minutes later when the doorbell rang, and I saw Mark walk into my house and kiss Jessica deeply in front of the camera. Seeing their kiss up close made me nauseous for the first time that night. "Wow, baby, you look amazing in that dress. I can't wait to rip it off your sexy body and make love to you all night long," he said with a wide smile. His words filled me with rage, but the real pain came when I watched him take her hand and lead her into our bedroom. The pain deepened as I saw her undress him, and he stood there with that stupid smile on his face. He was a big man with a strong body and 6-pack abs. I watched with jealousy and anger, but also a twisted sense of admiration for this jerk. After the second bout of vomiting, I watched and listened to them have sex for the next hour. I knew my marriage was over and shouldn't let it bother me, but their conversation was the most painful part of the night. As they lay together, he started talking. "So, your husband's gone for a few nights. Great. You'll be mine for the next 2 days. I'm so happy you can stay the night, baby. You know I've wanted to wake up next to you for so long. I love being with you, Mark. Yes, I'll love taking you over and over again all night long while hubby works his ass off. What an idiot. Be good, Mark. I love him, and he's a good person. Then why do you let me have sex with you? Mark, you're the sexiest man I know, and I love our sex. But we're both married, and we should just enjoy the time we have together. It makes sense, you give me more love and affection than my husband or anyone else. The other woman I've been with, for me, it's more than just sex. It's the way you make me feel, Jessica." Hearing this really hurt because the love he was talking about was supposed to be just for me. Now I realized that she shared that love with another man. I kept listening and watching as they hugged, kissed, and talked. "Does your husband satisfy you as much as I do?" he asked. Jessica responded, "He's a wonderful lover, but no, he's not like you. You do things to me that I can't explain." I felt a deep sense of sadness and betrayal. I turned off the computer, unable to bear hearing this deceit in my own home and bed. After several hours of insomnia and struggling with my anger, I understood that pain and revenge would be a big part of my future. When I returned home, everything seemed normal. Jessica greeted me with a big hug and lots of kisses, acting as if nothing had happened while I was away. Instead of feeling the love I once had for her, I now felt disgust and recoiled at her touch. I did my best to act normally. I gathered all the recordings and videos, backed them up to the cloud, and created an encrypted file on my computer. Over the next 2 weeks, I made sure every moment with Jessica was accounted for. I kept her busy, avoiding any chances for quickies or late-night encounters. She even asked when my next trip was scheduled, clearly eager for me to leave. One morning, while she was driving to work, I overheard her conversation. "When will your husband leave town again?" her lover asked. Jessica replied, "I'm not sure, but I'll find out. It has to be soon, baby." Knowing this, I planned a one-night trip to ensure he would come over while I was gone. That evening, while watching TV, my unfaithful wife asked, "Darling, when is your next trip?" I tried to control my anger and responded, "Honey, are you trying to get rid of me? Do you have a secret lover who comes when I'm not around?" I said it jokingly, but she didn't miss a beat and showed no signs of guilt. "Don't be silly," she said. "I like it when you're home. I hope you don't have to leave, and I'm wondering if your travel schedule has been cut back." "No, sorry honey," I replied. "My job still requires me to travel. I have an evening appointment next Tuesday, and I'll be back sometime Wednesday," she said convincingly. "I hate it when you leave," she continued. "I wish you didn't have to travel so much. I miss you so much when you're gone." She hugged me, kissed me deeply, and made me feel more love than I could explain. It was heartbreaking to know she was giving the same love to someone else. I wanted to scream and throw her to the floor, but I kept my composure and went about my usual routine, knowing that my plan would be set in motion next week. On Tuesday, I packed for the trip. Jessica and I had our last intimate moment together. After tonight, there would be no more us. She kissed me deeply before I left, and I wondered if she saw the sadness in my eyes when I looked at her one last time. Her expression changed, but I couldn't read her thoughts. Instead of leaving town, I returned to my office and parked my car. I went back to my desk to work late, which was not unusual. The few people who were there never questioned my presence. Around 7:30, the video camera captured Mark entering my house and tenderly kissing my soon-to-be ex-wife. It was showtime. I disabled the video camera using an app on my phone and then put my cell phone in a drawer so the GPS wouldn't track me. Quietly, I left the office, went to the trunk of my car, and took out my electric bike. The motor allowed it to reach speeds of up to 30 miles per hour and had a range of up to 50 miles on a single charge. I put on a black hoodie, checked to make sure no one had noticed me, and set off on a 12-mile trip back to my home. The bike was perfect for stealth. It allowed me to return quietly and without being seen. In 20 minutes, I parked the bike behind the house and walked through the back sliding door, which I had left open. Once inside, I stood quietly to make sure I wasn't discovered and listened for sounds coming from the bedroom. After confirming that they hadn't noticed my arrival, I went to the closet where I had stashed the short-barreled shotgun and an aluminum bat. I carried them into the bedroom, placing the shotgun against the wall outside and picking up the bat. I quietly opened the door to the candlelit room. The noise they were making meant they didn't hear me as I walked up to the bed. Without hesitation, I delivered a hard swing to the side of Mark's head. The dull thud of metal against flesh was only faintly heard over the sound of his 250-pound frame hitting the floor. As he was falling, I grabbed the shotgun and turned on the light. Jessica, realizing what was happening, was stunned and screamed, "Oh God, no. Please, no. This can't be true. Why are you here? You should be away. Why are you with another man in my bed?" "That's a good question," I said. "Now shut the hell up and pay attention." Mark was semi-conscious, sitting against the wall with blood dripping from a 6-inch wound from the bat. As he came to, he noticed the angry man in front of him. "Damn, this hurts. Why did you do that, dude?" he groaned. "Are you kidding? You're having sex with my wife in my bed, and you think I won't react? What are you going to do?" he asked, clearly nervous as he looked at the shotgun I was pointing at him. "Are you scared, big man? Afraid I'll hurt you? I know what you two did behind my back, and today's the payback. I'm going to kill you, Mark. Tonight, you die. Dude, if you kill me, you're going to jail for the rest of your life," Mark retorted. "To hell with this. We'll all die tonight. How does that sound, idiot?" I wanted to put the fear of God into both of them. Of course, I had no intention of killing anyone, but it was satisfying to see how terrified they were. I acted aggressively, trying to scare them both. Jessica was crying, curled up and trying to cover her naked body with a sheet. "Baby, please don't do anything stupid. I love you, I really do. Put the shotgun down, and let's talk about this," she pleaded. With a sinister grin, I aimed the shotgun at her. "Shut up. This is because you wanted to have adventures outside of our marriage. Whatever happens tonight is all on you." They both knew they were in serious trouble and realized they needed to calm me down or everyone was at risk. The custom-made loads in the shotgun were designed to cause maximum damage. Salt and 75% capsicum oleoresin, which is used in pepper spray. I didn't plan to kill anyone, just to inflict enough pain, and maybe a little injury to his genitals, that would last him a lifetime. I had no intention of going to jail, and I wasn't aiming to kill anyone today. But since no one knew this, I wanted to seriously scare them, so the memory of this night would stay with them for a long time. After Big Mark recovered from the blow to the head, he got bolder and tried to rush at me, attempting to disarm me. I was ready for this. As soon as he made his move, he exposed himself, and I unloaded the first round. The blast was loud, but his screams were even louder. He couldn't see or breathe without choking, and the pain was unlike anything he had ever experienced. A few minutes later, as he sat writhing in pain and bleeding, I laid out the terms. I kicked him to get his attention, all the while watching my soon-to-be ex-wife. "Listen to me, and you too, my cheating wife. I'll be leaving in a few minutes. You're going to take this loser to the emergency room before he bleeds out. You won't call 911, instead, you'll drive him to the hospital yourself. You won't tell anyone how this happened or that I was involved. In fact, you'll tell anyone who asks that I had no idea about your affair. If any of you mention that I was involved or knew about your adultery, I'll send the video, audio, and photos I collected to the asshole's wife and his partners at the firm. Plus, everyone you know will get a link to a website I created with over 2 hours of your sex scenes. I don't care what lies you tell the police, but you won't mention my name, and you'll insist that I know nothing about this. You won't fire my ex-wife. She'll need that job once the divorce is finalized. If you come after me or if she refuses the divorce proposal, everything will come out. At that point, it won't matter who gets burned. Get him to the hospital before he bleeds out, and remember what I said." I left the same way I came in, fixing the lock and closing the door behind me. I put the bat and shotgun in the bag and slung it over my shoulder. I quietly slipped away, riding my bike back to my office. I tossed the bat and shotgun into different parts of the river, then removed and discarded the surgical gloves I had been wearing. Back at the office, I put the bike in my car and was back at my desk by 9 p.m. I said goodbye to a few IT employees who were working late. As far as anyone knew, my car never left the lot, and I sat at my desk all evening. If they ever accused me, it would be their word against mine with no evidence. Mark underwent surgery. He needed 18 stitches and had to shave his head because he suffered a concussion from the blow. He told the police the last thing he remembered was walking home with some paperwork and then ending up in the hospital. He said he didn't remember seeing anyone or being hit. He kept his mouth shut about everything else. I felt a mix of power and anger, knowing I could ruin his life and career. Jessica was beside herself and didn't say much about the incident. All she mentioned was that she heard a gunshot and, upon going outside, saw Mark lying there. She took him to the hospital because she didn't think it was worth waiting for an ambulance. Neither could explain why he was naked, and both stuck to their stories. Mark's wife didn't believe him, which soon became a major issue for him. I spent the afternoon dismantling the surveillance equipment, uploading everything to an encrypted cloud server, and then disposing of the gear. Any remaining evidence of their affair was now out of reach. Around 6 p.m., Jessica came in and found me in the living room with a bottle of my good whiskey. I sat quietly while she took a seat across from me on the couch. She looked devastated, and for a brief moment, I felt sorry for her. With tears in her eyes, she struggled to explain. "Johnny, I know what you saw was awful, but you need to understand that I wasn't in love with him. I know it looked bad and what I said must have hurt, but you know me. After sex, I need a connection. Everything I said was from my heart and was meant for you. Whenever you left, I hated being alone, and Mark kept me company. Yes, it got sexual, but it was just sex. You have to believe me." I was stunned by the absurdity of her excuse. "Jessica, I've listened to your explanations, and even though you say those words of love were meant for me, I can't help but think they were really meant for Mark. It's over, Jessica. 20 wonderful years thrown away because of your affair with your boss. We both have to live with the consequences of your actions for the rest of our lives. Thanks for the pain and suffering you've caused me, I'll always remember it," I said sarcastically. "What do we do now?" she asked, tears streaming down her face. "Well, we're done here. I'll never understand how or why you did this to me. I'll have to live with this forever, and there's no way I can forgive what you did. But I'll keep my promise and not reveal your infidelity. Sarah and your parents will never know what kind of woman you've been. I'll let you explain the divorce, but don't make me out to be the bad guy. If you do, it will end badly because I'll make sure everyone knows you're nothing but a cheating adulteress. I'm putting the house up for sale, and in the meantime, you need to find a place to stay. Since you've ruined everything, you need to move out. I'm not asking, this is what will happen. Let me know where to send the divorce papers. Sign them and don't resist the divorce, or it will be painful for you and your boyfriend." Crying into her hands, she tried to speak. "He's not my boyfriend, and I don't love him. Can't we figure this out? Is there anything we can do? I know it's too late after what I did, but I can't live without you. I'll do anything to keep us together. I never wanted to lose you. Please don't leave me." "You know, Jessica," I said, "if it had only been about sex, there might have been a chance to work things out through counseling or separation. But what really ended my love for you was the love you shared with him was supposed to be just for me. The words you said to him destroyed everything I ever felt for you. I will never forget or forgive your betrayal, and I never want to see or speak to you again. Once the divorce is finalized, you will disappear from my life forever." After several hours of pleading for forgiveness, she left the next morning and stayed with her parents until the house was sold. Over the following week, the police questioned me repeatedly, trying to get me to admit my involvement. I hired a lawyer, and we told them that unless they provided evidence, I would not answer any more questions without a warrant. With no evidence and a solid alibi, they eventually left me alone. The incident was ultimately reported as a random burglary and assault. Jessica and her family continued to call and beg me to reconsider. They told me she loved me, couldn't live without me, and was sorry. They asked for forgiveness and suggested counseling, but I stopped answering their calls and ignored them when they came to the door. I changed my phone number and cut off all contact with them. The loss was devastating. Every moment of separation was painful, but the memory of her betrayal and how she gave her love to another man was something I couldn't reconcile. Jessica, now a 42-year-old single mother, was living on her salary in a one-bedroom apartment. The comfortable life she once enjoyed was gone. Her daughter and family were unhappy with her choices and blamed her for the failed marriage. Jessica was alone, as Mark was more interested in saving his own marriage. Mark treated Jessica poorly at work and blamed her for his physical and marital problems. He transferred her to an administrative role with the same pay, but the job was tedious and unfulfilling. She no longer had the prestigious position or any prospects for advancement. Word spread that she was one of Mark's ex-girlfriends, and she was treated accordingly. With no friends, no husband, and a family that blamed her for the divorce, she sank into depression. She cried every night, missing Johnny with every fiber of her being. Her heart ached constantly, and she was consumed by thoughts of her actions and loss. Sarah tried to help her mother, but there seemed to be no way back. She watched her mother lose weight, eat poorly, and drink heavily. Jessica refused to take care of herself, saying she had no reason to worry anymore without Johnny. When Sarah sought advice from her father, he sympathized with her situation but never reconciled with Jessica and never spoke to her again. Stella, on the other hand, took control and made Mark's life a living hell. She forced him to move into one of the guest rooms and made him pay dearly for his infidelity. Stella eventually began dating several younger men and kept Mark around to cover all the bills. She agreed to attend corporate events and business meetings with him as eye candy, but they lived separate lives. Mark will never have sex again and he will never find a woman he loves for the rest of his life. He will remember exactly when and how his whole life changed, all because of his desire to take someone else's wife. His anger towards me was intense, and he wanted to hurt me in the worst possible way. But nothing happened. Months later, I was out for drinks with my coworkers when I was attacked and beaten outside the bar. My friends came to help, and the attackers left before the police arrived. I ended up spending 2 days in the hospital with broken ribs and 20 stitches. I'm convinced they wanted me dead, and if it weren't for my friends, I think they would have succeeded. I knew this was Mark's revenge, and it didn't surprise me at all. 6 weeks later, I was feeling much better and decided to call Mark's office. "Mr. Diamond, please," I said to his secretary. "I'm sorry, he's in a meeting. Can I take a message?" "Yes, please tell him to meet me at 1 p.m. this Friday at the French deli across the street." "I'm sorry, sir, I don't schedule appointments for Mr. Diamond." "Just give him the message," I insisted. "Write it down, Friday, 1 p.m., French deli. He'll understand what it means." "Thank you." On Friday, I was sitting at a table facing the door when Mark walked in alone. He saw me and came over. "Sit down," I said. "What do you want?" Ignoring his outburst, I said, "Thank you for coming. Your people did a good job on me, but unfortunately for you, they didn't finish the job. You didn't heed my warning about any retaliation against me or my family, so you forced me to act." I handed him a folded piece of paper and continued, "Here's a link to a website that's been created just for you. Don't bother trying to shut it down, it's based in Syria with 3 backup servers in different locations. It's untraceable. Check it out when you get back to your office. I've erased Jessica's face because she shouldn't have to pay for your sins. She's already suffered enough. Now, after you see the website, think about how your firm will react, how your wife will feel, and how your children, friends, and family will react after watching a 2-hour sex video. I plan to post it on several popular porn sites along with your name, profession, address, and phone number." Mark's anger grew. "Look, you've already ruined my life. I'll never be the same sexually again. Just stop it, or I promise you, we'll both disappear. That's why we're here today, Mr. Diamond. I want to put an end to this. You took the most precious thing in my life, my wife. You ruined our 20-year marriage, and I can't let you go free. I'm risking my life, as you put it, but I'm determined to get revenge for the beating your people gave me. Okay, calm down. What do you want? 2 things, and they're non-negotiable. First, you will stop any retaliation against me or anyone I know, including Jessica. Second, you will deposit $1 million into this account by the end of the day on Friday. If the funds aren't in the account by 9 p.m. on Friday, I will take action. I know what you're worth and what I can get in a lawsuit, so this amount I'm asking for should be considered a bargain. If I agree, how do I know you won't? If you don't follow through, there's a 100% chance this site will become famous by Saturday morning. I hope you suffer for the rest of your life for what you did to my happy marriage. The money was transferred, the house was sold, and the property was divided. Jessica had enough money to live comfortably if she continued working or found another partner. Mark kept her employed as part of our agreement, but they were never close again. Jessica never remarried, rarely dated, and lived with the pain she caused both men. She lost her marriage and the love of the man she wanted to be with for the rest of her life and ended up alone and depressed. She died before her 50th birthday, a broken and sad woman. Only her daughter, Sarah, was present at the ceremony to scatter her ashes. Johnny continued working for several more years, moved to a small town, and married a nice woman who fulfilled him mentally and sexually. However, he could never replace the special love that only Jessica could give him. He never spoke to Jessica again and only heard about her from Sarah, whom he adored. They talked every day and stayed close, but Sarah rarely mentioned her mother, knowing that Johnny still loved her and didn't want to bring up his pain. Jessica's death saddened him but also brought a final relief to the deep sadness he had kept hidden. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any stories, and stay tuned for the next one, because this story is just the beginning.